It's my pleasure then to invite the second speaker, Einav, Levy, who will have the pleasure to introduce himself.
Professor, first I must admit that it's very brave that you all come to this session in this hour after those two quite intensive days. So thank you for this. My name is Einav Levy. I'm a PhD candidate at the Liberal University of Brussels. I must admit I'm not a full researcher. My background is working with unprivileged communities, disaster management. I led few humanitarian delegations focusing on medicine and community development in Haiti, Jordan, Tanzania, Zambia, and so forth. And I was a CEO of an NGO dealing with international humanitarian aid. I would like first to apologize on behalf of Professor Oli and Professor Pitron. Both weren't able to attend the conference. I'll try my best to introduce you the development and preliminary validation of the indirect condom use test, which is a measure to tendency to use condoms. We, researchers and decision makers in general, have few validated tools when we are coming to measure the manipulations we are doing in our studies. Here you can see a short list of few of those measurements: condom use skills checklist, self-reported of 6 domains, observed condom use skills, biological markers, and implicit association. Now, according to the dual system model, when we are coming to assess condom use by self-reported measures, there are two different processes. One process is explicit, deliberate, which of course is self-control, and the other one is implicit, reflecting desires and impulses. And of course, those two processes are influence and being derived from demographic background, ethnicity, gender, and cognitive barriers, and so forth. The problem when we are coming to assess condom use by self-report measures are, of course, the biases that we may come across. Presentation biases, dishonesty, recall biases. Now, if we take all of the above under consideration, we started to propose a study that will come to measure the tendency to use condom, and that will have the following items: that it will bypass biases of self-report, that it will be easy to administer, and it will be easy to understand, and that it will be valid. The development had few important principles and milestones. It was based on the semi-projective Rosenzweig picture frustration test, which I will present to you in a minute, that it will reflect a bit of people's barrier regarding condom use, that it will be related to knowledge, comfort, and interpersonal issues, that it will rephrase in each picture the issue domain, and that it will include ambiguous photos, and for the last, that instead of relying on the interpretation of the participant, we gave given scale response. Just a quick look on the Rosenzweig picture frustration test. You can see a person standing on the right being all splashed with mud, and the participant is being asked, to fill in what might be the response or the reaction of the person on the right, thus reflecting the participant's thoughts or personality. Now, for the last 2 years we've managed, yes, it's funny, for the last 2 years we've managed to develop a tool that now consists 17 items that we've managed to validate it and to start the main research about 2 months ago, but I will speak about it in later on. I'll give you 3 examples. This is the first example. If my friends would have known that I'm using a condoms, then we scaled up from the weakest tendency to use the condom up to the strongest tendency to use the condoms. They would have laughed at me up to they would have encouraged me. Another example. What is the girlfriend of the man on the left thinking while watching him? Again, scaled up tendency from the lowest tendency to use condom up to the strongest. He's never willing even to touch it, and he is the perfect one to give the demonstration. And the third example, what is she thinking concerning condoms? Here we scale down from the strongest tendency to the most weakest tendency to use condom to avoid response set. Now, there were a few important things while we were developing it. First, we didn't start with 17 items, we were having few photos, few sentences, and through down the analyzing of the weak items that were in small correlation or in weak correlation, we found out the vivid photos or the most vague photos. We were trying to fine-tuning the right way to ask the question so it will be clear to the participant what we're actually asking, and in accordance to this question, we of course rephrase the answers. Now, the most important thing in the process of the development is that this scale and questions were phrased more for women, more for barriers for women than for men. It was done because it is well known, of course rely on the database, that in cases where women report a higher self-efficacy when it comes to negotiation and a higher power in the relationships, it will have a higher probability to use condoms consistently in these relationships. Now, this is what we've hypothesized. We hypothesized that the IQ would have a negative correlation with the barriers. It means that the higher barrier that will be in the participant, he will show less tendency to use condoms. We hypothesized that the IQ would have a positive correlation with the condom use negotiation self-efficacy. Again, as higher self-efficacy, as higher tendency to use condoms. And we hypothesized that the IQ would be less related to social desirability than other self-reported scales. The method was quite simple. The IQ, the condom use negotiation self-efficacy, condoms barrier scale, and social desirability scale all were validated previously. These were the results. Again, this is the background, variables of gender, women having a partner, and so forth. This is the variable of the barriers, social desirability, IQ, and the condom use negotiation self-efficacy. And this is the most important slide, maybe. Please have a look on the first line. You can see that the IQ and the condom use negotiation self-efficacy had a positive, significant correlation. The IQ and the barriers had negative, significant correlation, and both as we've hypothesized, and again, it wasn't significant with the social disability, again, in accordance with what we've hypothesized. And have a look on this result as well, the negative significant correlation between the barriers and the condom use negotiation self-efficacy. Another very important result we've managed to analyze is the fact that barriers by itself explain 9.2% of the tendency to use condoms beyond the background data. It gives you the idea of the importance of barriers when coming to struggle the condom use non-adherence. Few main conclusions. The first conclusion, the acute is not correlated with the social desirability. It is preliminary valid, and the barriers explain quite unique variance in the IQ scores. The second conclusion is that the IQ will be now used to evaluate interventions, increases condom use, and I can tell you that we've started about 2 months ago. The main research in Nigeria involved 150 Nigerian students using this validated measure. To wrap up, we don't have enough sufficient, validated, or sensitive measurements, tools to target key population or key factors regarding HIV prevention or non-risky behavior. And after listening in the last 2 days and reading the literature with the vast and very distinguished colleagues for the last 2 days, we must keep in mind the importance of the role of gender when we are coming to fight this epidemic. And if I may add, with all the ability, we must continue and try to develop tools and to initiate interventions that will empower women with all the blessed outcomes of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Einav, for your very interesting presentation. I'm sure there are questions about condom. We have time for a couple of questions. Any questions, anyone? So maybe let me ask. So in this survey that we do in South Africa nationally, we have a question where we simply ask people, have you used a condom or no? And we answer yes or no. What are you suggesting from your research? How could we use that to better understand condom use?
Okay, thank you for the question. Of course, the most common or the simple way to ask someone whether he is using a condom is asking him whether he used it or not, or to find other measurements whether it was used. But then again, we found out that there are two main barriers for this question. First, it's self-report. And we all know the biases of self-report and the social desirability. What maybe can be added to rebust this question is to try to validate and strengthen it with other indirect questionnaires that will assist the researchers or the decision makers to understand whether the yes-no question is the right way to ask. Because sometimes, even me, if I'm being asked a question and well, we are all human beings, we know we can move not very conveniently in our chair, so maybe to ease the question for the participant,